What is up? I have no idea if this has gone live yet. I think it's still loading. It looks like it's loading, but we're going to go ahead and get started and chat a little bit. We got a little bit of double up on that. But today is a great day. What we're working on today is we're going to talk about goal setting. I'm going to give you all the points you need to know to have effective goal setting. And before I do that, I do want to just let you know, if I look down for a couple of minutes, I'm trying to get this set up on my phone so that I can see your comments as we do this. So if you have any questions, if you have any comments, make sure to go ahead and ask in the comment section. I'll make sure to get to them as soon as I can. So like I said, today what we're doing is we're going to be talking about goals. We've got really, we're going to go real in depth on this. If you haven't yet, do make sure that you download the workbook that goes along with this. If you're catching this live, I'm going to give you a couple minutes to find that. If you're catching this on the replay, don't worry. I'm going to post the comment down below on where the replay can be found or where the workbook can be found. I'm posting that right now. It is bit.ly/2020 goal workbook. Sweet. So we have that comment there. That's going to be there available for you to watch. What we're going to do today is we're going to talk about the three different classes of goals, how to identify your goal, how to craft a plan to your goal, and how to stay motivated towards those goals so that you can have the best 2022 around. Now, if you're curious, if you're ready, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to pop up the presentation real quick and we'll just kind of go through this together. Again, I strongly encourage you to have the workbook with you, to have that handy and available if you want to follow along. If not, I do strongly recommend for this, I strongly recommend having some notes. We're going to go over a ton of information today, and it's going to be really great if you have notes that you can refer back to, because this is not going to be a small subject. This is not going to be fluffy. This is not going to be basic information. We're going to go in depth on goal setting and how to accomplish goals this year. So let's go ahead and get started. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the goals, right? I already mentioned, if you don't have the link, there's the link to the workbook. Do make sure to download that and follow along as we go. But what we want to do is we want to understand why goals matter. I know goals already get a lot of lip service, but really, why? Why do we care so much about goals? We also want to learn the three classes of goals. Normally, when people think about goals, they're only going to think about one class, which might not even be the most important, but we'll talk about all three of those and how to identify them. Speaking of identifying, we're also going to help you identify your own personal goals. I'm not going to give you the same cliche that magazines give you. I'm not going to tell you how to drop weight. I'm not going to tell you how to get bigger arms or whatever. We're going to have you identify your own goals so they matter. And then at the end of this, we're going to give you the step-by-step process on how to craft a plan to succeed with your goals this year. So if you're ready, let's go ahead and get started, and we'll talk about why goal setting matters. So why even bother with goal setting? And I love this quote from one of my heroes. He's over behind me. You can't see it over there. I've got a portrait of him on the wall. But one of his quotes says that most people aim at nothing and hit it with amazing accuracy. And doesn't that seem true? How many people in our lives do we know that just kind of drift or just kind of drifting? They've got no purpose or no goals or ambitions. And they're just kind of existing, and they're unhappy, they're unhealthy, and they're not at their best, right? Most people don't know what goals they have, and you cannot hit it if you don't have a target to aim at, right? Goals are going to be incredibly important. I coach my clients in Health Rebels on this mindset model. You can see it in the bottom right corner, not the Zoom logo, but the stick figure behind it, right? This is a model for how mindset works. Now, we can't go in depth on this model, but I do want to point out a couple things. It is a top-down model. Everything works down the chain, right? And it starts in the mind. It starts with your mind, which is split into the conscious mind. And then below the conscious mind is the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is where we program all the automatic behaviors, all the habits, all the default processes that we go through, right? And our subconscious mind will oftentimes dictate what the body does. The body down below is going to be responsible for the actions that ultimately lead you to results or outcome. You cannot get to the results and outcome that you want without going through every chain in this model, through every process here. And the goals are going to be really working at the top, the conscious mind, your thought process, putting focus so that everything in that chain is working towards a desirable outcome and result. And goals, this is going to be wild, but goals can actually change your biochemistry. It can change the biochemistry in your physiology, and it can change the way that behaviors impact the body, right? So the example I love is from Dr. Aaliyah Crum. Dr. Aaliyah Crum is over Dr. Aaliyah Crum is a clinical psychologist, and she did this research study that talked about milkshakes, right? She gave participants milkshakes. One of the milkshakes was a huge milkshake. It was 630 calories, and another milkshake was the innocent indulgence, right? It was 130 calories. So big difference there. And what she did was she gave people these, she gave people not the health rebels. They gave them the milkshakes and measured their response. Now in our body, we have this hormone called ghrelin. Ghrelin regulates our hunger signals, right? When we eat a lot, ghrelin is low. We're no longer hungry. When we don't eat a lot, or when we go a long time without eating, ghrelin levels go higher, right? So we get hunger. And what she found was people that had the heavy milkshake, the high calorie milkshake, they had lower ghrelin levels. And the people that had the lower calorie milkshake, they had lower ghrelin levels, right? Or sorry, higher ghrelin levels. They were hungrier. And this makes sense if the milkshakes were actually different. The reality was the milkshakes were the same. They had taken the same milkshakes and had put them into different bottles with different labels. She had lied to the participants about what was in the milkshake. She had changed their perception. She had changed their anticipation. She changed their focus, and it changed their biochemistry. The same thing happens with our goals. When we change our focus, when we change our intention, it's actually going to change your biochemistry. I've seen far too often people that do what is textbook right, the right behaviors, and not get the outcome they want because that intention's not there. The focus isn't there. The goal isn't there. So goals are incredibly important to actually get the outcomes you would desire. And another really important thing to note is that throughout all of human history, nobody has ever accomplished anything meaningful accidentally. Now, that's not to say there haven't been accidents that have been meaningful, but they've never been done accidentally. The best example I have for this is a lot of inventions were accidents, right? Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone on accident, kind of. What he was doing was he was trying to invent a device to help deaf people hear. Instead of helping deaf people hear, he ended up helping everyone hear over longer distances, right? Or penicillin. Penicillin was discovered in a lab on accident. But what ended up happening was someone was doing research in a lab. They were working intentionally. Things might change. Some things might crop up, and you might come up to new discoveries, but nothing ever happens on accident. It's always got to have some meaningful intent behind it. And goals give us that meaningful intent so that we can have meaningful outcomes. Another important thing about setting goals is excitement, right? Excitement just naturally wanes. It gets depleted over time. This is natural, right? And then we know, if you've been following me, you know the Rebel Oath, and my number one secret to well-being is excitement about the process. So setting goals reinvigorates and recharges that excitement. So what are goals? And I know this is a really basic question. It seems really obvious, but when we can get this down, it makes goal setting much easier. Currently, my goal is to not be upset at the cat for jumping in my face while doing a seminar. Um, no, but goals are really important, and knowing what goals are is crucial to setting them. And I love this riff by Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn said, goals. What do you want? What do you want to, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? What do you want to have? What do you want to see? What do you want to be? What do you want to share? What projects do you want to support? What do you want to be known for? What do you want to know? What skills do you want to have? What extraordinary things do you want to do? What ordinary things do you want to do? What silly things do you want to do? What important things do you want to do? And I love this. It shows the spectrum that goals can fall under. Goals can fall under so many different areas and at different magnitudes, right? We can want to do extraordinary things. We can want to do ordinary things. We can want to do important things. We can want to do silly things, right? There's a spectrum. So anything that you want with a little bit more detail. In short, what he's saying is, what do you want to do, be, or have? So note, this is all framed in the positive too, right? When we set goals, we want to make sure that we're setting goals about something that we want to accomplish, something that we want to do, something that we want to gain, right? Oftentimes people come with these self-deprecating goals, right? I want to lose weight. I want to be less embarrassing. I want to be blah, 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 whatever it is. The problem is these don't excite us, right? So we want to always frame, what do you want to do? What do you want to actively do? It's not what you don't want to do. And what do you want to be? It's not what you don't want to be. It's what do you want to be? And what do you have, right? What do you want to have? It's not, what do you not want to have, or what do you want to not have anymore, right? Goals are what do you want to do, be, or have. And those three categories make up the three classes of goals. Now, no class is inherently better than the others. They're kind of all lateral. So there's not a top down or first is best or the last is best. But the three classes of goals, and if you're taking notes, you'll want to write this down. They're visionary goals, they're accomplishment goals, and they're habit goals, right? So let's talk about the first class. What do you want to be? This is your first class of goals. And this is going to be, who do you want to be, right? And this is dreaming, right? Who do you want to be is a vision of yourself. It's a question that we always ask little kids. And what I want to do is I want to make sure that you know that you have freedom to dream like a child about who do you want to be. Take all the filters off, really lean into who do you want to be. And this is something that I work a lot with clients on, right? I do 3 exercises with my clients. The reason why I do these 3 exercises with clients is because with Health Rebels, the big focus that we have is to help people redefine what fitness is and their relationship to healthy habits so that they can build healthy routines that make them healthier and happier and last a lifetime, right? But it's always working on that relationship and that definition of fitness. And to redefine fitness, to redefine your relationship with healthy habits, we need to create a new vision. So visionary goals are really powerful. And I use 3 exercises to do this with people. Initially, I talk to people about you 2.0, right? Hopefully Helena's able to get on here. She did try to message me, said that she's having some troubles, but when we talked, she loved this exercise, right? She never before thought that she could craft whoever she wanted to be, whatever she wanted to be, right? It was always trying to fit into the magazine cookie cover, whatever, the cookie cutter plans and the generic goals. But you have permission and freedom to dream like a child, to craft who you want to be. And I always walk through that exercise with people. The next exercise I walk through people is the true goals. And in your workbook, I believe this is page 1 of the workbook, you're going to see that true goals have a couple questions behind them. We'll get to those more in depth later in the seminar, but those questions are: what do you want? Why do you want it? Why is that important? And what kind of personal value does that connect with you, right? Natasha down in the comments just mentioned that the 3 components are always present within each goal. We'll talk about that a little bit later. It's true. It's not, it's probably always true, but it doesn't necessarily have to be, and that's not where we need to focus. But we will touch base on that later, Natasha. And then finally, the third exercise I do is a destination postcard. So what we want to do is we want to make sure in the destination postcard, and I left you a blank spot, a wide open spot. The big thing that we want to do is we want to encapsulate that you 2.0. We want to envision being you 2.0. And then what we want to do is write a letter to ourselves in the past to describe what life is like as 2.0. This makes that goal a real thing. Instead of being this far out abstraction, it becomes this reality that you're striving towards. Sorry, someone was trying to get a hold of the invite and couldn't make it work. So we'll see what that works through. The second class of goals answers the question, what do you want to have? Right? This is the second, and it's also the most common class of goals. This is normally what people think goals are, right? They think that goals are these accomplishments of having stuff, right? Most people's goals oftentimes revolve around, I want to make more money, I want to have more money, or I want to, get to an ideal physique. I want to accomplish that physique. This is the most common goal that people have, but it's not inherently the only one. Understanding the other classes can enrich this class itself. But there's different things that we can have, right? There's different accomplishments we can do. We can have new skills. We can have new traits. We can have new achievements. And we can have new stuff, right? So in health and fitness, this is really obvious in the first 3. General goal setting, the stuff is a little bit easier to go there. But for skills, right? If you're thinking in health and fitness, I know a lot of people are looking to, be able to do a push-up, do a pull-up, hold a plank for a minute. These are new skills. These are new abilities. It's something that you get to have. New traits, that's kind of talking about the physique, right? If you want to have a leaner waistline, or if you want to have a bigger chest or stronger arms or whatever, these traits are things that you have. They're accomplishments that you gain. And achievements are easy, right? I want to finish a 5K. I want to do a marathon. I want to hike with my kids. I want to play football with the rec leagues, right? These are achievements. These are accomplishments. They're medals on the screen. And stuff was honestly kind of hard to relate to health and fitness, so I'm skipping over that. And I've already given some examples. Do a pull-up, add an inch on your biceps, do a 5K personal best. The third class of goals answers the question, what do you want to do? Right? This is our third class. What do you want to do? It's our habit goals, right? It's our habit goals. They're the smaller goals of just what are you doing, right? They're actions that either serve you or they work towards another goal. Natasha already alluded to this earlier about how goals might have components of all 3 categories, right? Some of these habits are moving towards achievements. Some of these habits are moving towards visions, right? Or they might just be habits that you think are good for you just to enjoy, right? I have a habit goal of completing a book a month, of reading a book a month. I could probably describe some outcome I think that's going to do, but I also just like reading. I like to read. It makes me feel good. So that's an action that serves me that doesn't necessarily have to have any other goal that it's working towards. Or alternatively, if I'm trying to learn some new subject, reading would be a habit that works towards that new goal. What's really great about habit goals, and these are growing in popularity, because they're the easiest and the quickest to make progress on, right? All you have to do is right now, you can do that habit. You can accomplish that goal right now. If you say, I want to set the goal of doing 5 push-ups a day, you can drop down to the ground right now, do a push-up, goal accomplished, and then you do it again tomorrow and do it again the day after, right? But it's easy. They're easy to get wins with, right? And wins motivate us. They encourage us. They keep us moving forward. And they're great to build momentum and motivation, right? Because we're winning so easily. The barrier to accomplishment is so low with a habit that you do often. Some examples of habit-based goals, right? I want to work out 3 days a week, or I want to work out 5 days a week. I want to drink water every day. You've probably seen I've been sipping on some water as we go along. It's a great habit goal to do, something that's really common among my clients. Get 10,000 steps a day, right? That's a goal that's really, really common nowadays. That's why we all have these step trackers on our wrists. They're just habits that you do often. In my nutrition coaching system, I do have a proprietary point system that I do with my nutrition tracking. So a common example that comes up with my clients is the habit of scoring 35 points each week or more than 35, right? So that's a little bit more detailed. We can talk about that. If you're curious about the system, do send me a message. I'd be glad to talk to you about that a little bit more. But categories, right? So we can talk about goals generally as just what do you want? What do you want to do? What do you want to be? What do you want to have? Or we can break them into categories and get a little bit more guidance on the questions, right? So we can ask, what do you want to do, be, or have in regards to the holistic wheel? The holistic wheel is one of the big components behind my coaching. You've probably heard it a dozen times being in the group. We're looking for an approach to health and wellness that's holistic, that's complete, that encompasses mindset, activity, nutrition, sleep, stress management, and support. So you can use those 6 components and go underneath each one. In mindset, what do I want to do, be, or have? With activity, what do I want to do, be, or have? With nutrition, what do I want to do, be, or have? You see how that goes, right? We can use that as a goal setting rubric, right? I went more in depth than I expected to already. And then one of the things, one of my mentors, Brian Buffini, he's got categories that he talks about the whole person, right? And he talks about the 5 circles. And those 5 categories, you can set goals within as well. Those 5 circles that Brian Buffini has is personal well-being. That's pretty much everything up above in the holistic wheel. That goes into that category. Family and friend relationships is another category. That could be your support and accountability. He's got a spiritual circle. If you're not really big on religion or spiritual, you can substitute this with community, right? Community. All of this circle is just being part of something larger than yourself, right? Community is a great substitute there. Career, what do you do for work? How do you do it for work, right? And then personal finances is also important. So you can set goals in all of those categories as well. And as you collect goals in each category, you may find that some lead to a larger vision of who or what you want to be. As Natasha alluded to in the comments, goals aren't exclusively vision, aren't exclusively achievements, aren't exclusively habits. There's some interplay there, right? So typically your habit goals, what you do, they will lead to accomplishment goals, what you have. And those accomplishments, they become milestones that lead to the vision of who you're becoming and who you want to be. And we can also go in reverse. We can reverse engineer this process, right? With that destination postcard being a visionary goal, that who you want to be, creating that destination. Destinations require milestones. Milestones require action. So that vision, that destination requires milestones. Those are accomplishments. And those accomplishments require habits. They require actions. So there's different goal setting exercises you can do to really find out what your goal is for yourself, right? We talked about true goals, and there's I believe in page 1 or 2 of the workbook, There's the template for how to run through true goals and really identify those. Those are your visionary, right? Take your surface goal. Ask yourself, why does that goal matter to you? Why does that matter to you? And then finally, how does that connect to a personal value? Matt, I see your comment down below. I love Brian Buffini. He's got a coaching company. I'm doing coaching with him. I'm a big fan. I'll get you connected with his podcast. It's great information there. But let's look at this true goal, right? I've got an example of this. If you know my story, you probably know I've got a steel rod in my left knee, right? This rod in my knee held me back. And so my surface goal was, to get back to health, to go through rehab and rehabilitate my knee. The reason that mattered to me was because there's a lot of activities that I love to do. Namely, it would be hanging out with my nephews, playing with my nephews, going on hikes. Activity was part of my personality, right? And I couldn't do those without a functioning knee anymore. So the surface goal of rehabilitating the knee is important because it would allow me to do activity. Why that's important is it allows me to be who I really am. All the activities that I love, the exercise, the playing with the nephews. And the reason why that's important is one of my personal values is being the world's best uncle, right? And I probably could, but it would be different. It would be different to be the world's best uncle if I couldn't power bomb my nephew into the swimming pool in the summertime, right? My nephew's got this overstuffed beanbag that is just amazing to throw him into. He loves it. It's awesome. And so at that point, there's a lot of people that go through rehab, that go through physical therapy or physiotherapy, depending on your part of the world. There's a lot of people that try to go through rehab and it hurts and it sucks and they drop off because it sucks and it doesn't want to do it. Having that deeper value, understanding that vision of who I was trying to craft inspired me to go through that more, to inspire me to go through that season of my life and to get through the rehab, right? So true goals, going deeper, inspires. It creates inspiration that sustains motivation. Do the destination postcard. I gave you a big chunk in that workbook to write through, but become you 2.0, right? Really envision who you're trying to create, that vision. Write a note to the present you. And as you write that note, write down, what is life like in this new reality of yours? What do you do? How do you feel? What did you have to change to get here? Right? And then will you get out of my lap? I've got a cat that keeps jumping in my lap. So if I ever look down and look distracted, it's because something's trying to bite me. All right. There's more goal setting exercises you can do though, right? So you can take a sheet of paper. I gave you 2 blank pieces of paper in the workbook, and you can just ask yourself, what do I want? What do I want to do? What do I want to have? What do I want to be? Right? Asking those questions can get you a lot of goals, and you don't need to put down the right goal, right? It doesn't have to be impressive, right? Remember the Jim Rohn quote: what ordinary things do you want to do? What extraordinary things do you want to do? What important things do you want to do? What silly things do you want to do, right? It doesn't matter the level. Sometimes people feel like their goals aren't good enough or worthy enough or exciting enough. Dude, if you want to do it, you want to do it. Put it down. And on this sheet, you can also list those categories that we talked about, right? With the holistic wheel or with the 5 circles, right? List those categories and then put stuff underneath each category. And then as you read through this list, take 15, 20 minutes, write down everything you can think of that you want, everything you want to do, everything you want to have, everything you want to be. Look over that list. There's going to be something that jumps out that means the most to you. Circle that item on the list. Highlight that item. That is your 2022 goal. That's what you're working on. It could be vision. It could be an accomplishment, or it could be a new habit and routine. I don't know. I don't know. There's not a universality that here. There is personality that is at play here. Some people are dreamers. They love that vision. They want to dream and craft who they want to be. And that excites them, and they can work at becoming that person. Some people love the thrill of accomplishment, right? Some people love those pat on the backs, those accomplishments, those high fives, those honors, right? Some people are motivated by accomplishments. And then some people, some people don't want to overwhelm themselves. Some people want to do something and feel like they're doing consistent actions, right? I don't know what motivates you the most. You're going to look at that list and you're going to feel like that one is drawing to me, and circle that. Now, that's not to mean that the rest of the list is invalid, right? Keep the list, read the list, but only one matters. Dabble in the rest, but focus, ensure you're getting that top one. And as we've alluded to, maybe that goal is connected to other goals, right? They're not mutually exclusive all the time, but just have that one that inspires you the most and focus on that the most. Dabble with everything else because it's just going to make you feel better, but really emphasize that top goal that jumps out to you. And then when you have a goal, you need to have a plan. You need to be able to craft a plan. And I love goal setting. I love asking what you want to do, have, or do, or be. I left one of those words out. It might be enough. That could be inspiring for you. But if it doesn't inspire you to action, or if it confuses you, we need to go a little bit further. And there's a couple follow-up questions that we can ask, right? If it's not inspiring you to move, or if it confuses you, then what we want to ask is, one of my favorites is Zig Ziglar had a series of questions he would ask about goals, right? He would ask, what are the benefits of this goal, right? This emotionalizes the goal. It inspires and motivates when you can see that vision. This is part of the true goals question as well, trying to get to why things matter. That's really getting to the benefits of your goal. So, if you feel comfortable, go ahead and throw a goal down out in the chat, right? We're here, we're live. If you've got a goal that you want to share that goal, right? And then think about what that benefit is. So generic goals that people always talk about. Generic goals could be, look, I want to be leaner, right? And the benefit to that is I've had a lot of people talk to me and said that, hey, the trajectory that I'm on right now, my joints are deteriorating, and in 10 to 15 years, I might need to walk with a cane. So if I can get leaner, I can take stress off my joints and I can avoid walking with a cane, right? That's a benefit. When you're tired and you're thinking about not doing the activities that get you leaner, remembering that benefit is like, dude, I'm going to stay away from that cane. I don't want to be like my mother was. I don't want to be like my grandpa was, right? That can inspire us, knowing the benefits. What are the obstacles? There are going to be obstacles. It does not matter what your goal. Nobody's got an easy goal. There are going to be obstacles. Knowing these ahead of time can allow us to be proactive, right? So to circumvent those goals, to overcome those obstacles, to circumvent those obstacles, to overcome those obstacles, it can be really beneficial to know that ahead of time. But it also insulates us from the shock and the dismay when the obstacles come up. Right? If you're trying to change habits, you might know that different family events are difficult, right? Knowing this ahead of time, you can make a plan for going into the family event, or when you get into the family event and maybe a mistake happens, you don't have to belittle yourself so much. You don't have to cut yourself down and lose motivation. Identify what are the benefits, identify what are the obstacles. Ask yourself, what skills or knowledge do I have to gain to accomplish this goal, right? Matt, I know you just finished up a degree at Duke with marketing, right? You wanted to become a marketer. You wanted to become a next tier marketer, right? And you thought to yourself, what skills and knowledge do I have to get? So to accomplish this goal, part of the plan was getting a degree from Duke University, right? So when you identify what skills and knowledge you need, it helps create that next plan of action. This question I think is really important. Who do I need to partner with to accomplish my goals, right? Nothing in human history, nothing of significance has ever been done by an individual. Everybody's always had support, right? Times are going to be hard. I just wrote about how when one and one come together, it becomes greater than two. When one and one come together, it's the power of 11 because you have support, you have safety nets, you have brainstorming, you have collaboration. We all need support. We all need someone that we partner with to accomplish our goals. Whether it's something as small as sharing it in a Facebook group or sharing it with your best friend, or something larger, something that I'm personally biased towards as a coach, whether it's getting a coach. And obviously I would bias towards Health Rebels. Obviously, if you have a health and fitness goal, maybe partnering with Health Rebels is beneficial in getting you to that goal. But we always need to think about who do we need to partner with to accomplish this goal, to support us as we get this goal, to get us through the hard times, to get us excited about the good times, right? Who do we need to partner with? And then he had another question that I'm a little dicey on, and it's what's the date, right? There's a big goal setting trick to try to set deadlines so that there's more pressure there, and there's some value there, but I love and hate it. It's really only applicable for accomplishment goals, right? There's no timeline in which our vision goals really end up being, right? We don't get to the destination and then cut off. There's not like I was here one day and now I'm not, right? It's a perpetual thing. Same thing with a lot of habits, right? Habits are going to be perpetual, and setting like I want to walk 10,000 steps a day by 3 months from now, right? That's holding yourself back more than it's helping you, right? So for vision and for habit goals, not super applicable, could be a lot more beneficial for accomplishment goals, but I'm not in love with that question. You don't need to ask that. It's helpful if it's helpful for you. There's also a guy from my home, from my backyard, from the Pacific Northwest, and he has a crucial question to ask about goals. And that question is, what is the cost? What is the cost? This is not necessarily monetary, though it could be dealing with money, right? Obviously, we had the example of going to school. School usually costs money, right? But it doesn't have to be that. It could be the cost of what you have to give or what you have to give up, right? When we talk about weight loss, when we talk about better nutrition, sometimes we have to give up some of the daily snacks. Sometimes we have to give up some of the daily desserts, right? There's a little bit that we have to give. If we're trying to lose weight, if we're trying to be leaner, if we're trying to be more fit, we have to give some time for exercise. We have to give some time for meal prep. We have to give some time for sleeping better, right? There are things that you're going to have to give to accomplish the goals. And there might be some things you have to give up to accomplish those goals as well. But that's not the only cost. There's another side to this cost question that I want you to consider. What is the cost of failure? And I think this is something that people want to talk about a lot more, or should want to talk about a lot more, is now that you have a goal that you're excited about, what happens if you don't accomplish this goal, right? We talked about Brian Buffini in the chat. He always talks about when he first met Lou Tyson, went through this example, his goal was to take a family trip back to Ireland. He's an Irish immigrant, lives in California, and he wanted to go back and visit his family in Ireland when he had his firstborn son. And he thought, and what we often do with trips like this, right? It's easy to postpone that. It's easy to put it off. But what he thought was, if I don't go to Ireland, my parents may never see their grandchild. My parents may pass before they ever get the opportunity to meet their grandchild. I might not be able to introduce my kids to my parents if I do not take this trip, right? That's the cost of failure. We talked earlier about how I've worked with people who talk about their joints degenerating. And if they don't accomplish their goal of weight loss, if they don't accomplish their goal of getting stronger, if they don't accomplish their goal of being more fit and more healthy, they're going to need assistance walking. They're going to need a cane, a walker. They might be confined to a wheelchair. They might have heart disease. They might have all these other things. There is cost to not accomplishing our goals. and I'll be a little personal here. One of my goals in 2022 is I want to hire 5 full-time staff, right? I want to bring on coaches. One of the big reasons why that's important to me, speaking of Zig Ziglar's benefits, is as a personal trainer, I had long believed that personal training is the best job there is. I get to help people transform their lives. I get to help people become more confident. I get to help people live longer and enjoy more time with their family, right? That's an amazing job. But the reality is the structure of the business, the structure of the career, it's one of the worst careers to fall into, right? There's no security on income. The seasons are feast and famine. There's no security. Few gyms have benefits. It's just a really hard job. You often work 13-hour days for 5 days, and then you work on the weekend as well. It's a tough career, and I want to be able to create a support network for passionate professionals that don't need to hate their job, right? So the benefit is I get to fix the problem that I saw, right? And I get to support people who support others, right? And extend the reach that way. That would be the benefit of the goal. The cost of failure to not hiring 5 full-time staff this year is I know that I have the ability, I have the capacity to support people. And if I do not do that, I'm going to allow other passionate professionals to struggle in their career, to live miserable lives, to live without fulfillment, without satisfaction, without all the things that a good, healthy work environment can provide people. I will be failing other people if I don't accomplish my goal. And that hurts to say, that hurts to consider, that hurts to think about, and I don't want to do that. So that's going to put a lot more weight on the actions that I need to do to accomplish that goal throughout the year, right? So identifying the cost of failure can be really important. Natasha had a great addition to the cost, how other people react to your failure or your success, right? That is going to be a cost, right? How people react to your success might be a cost, right? You might have to give up toxic relationships of people who don't truly support you. You might have to give up your own ego, right? And be honest with yourself and with other people if you come up with failure. You might have to give up some ego. You might have to give up some comfort. You might have to give up security that you get from hiding in order to accomplish something that fills you up and makes you feel better, right? There's a lot of things that we might give up. And then it's not important. It's not enough to have goals. It's not enough to have plans. We have to use them, right? So how do we use them? One, go work on them, right? Just knowing that you have a goal that you're working towards makes it infinitely easier to make progress towards that goal, towards that accomplishment that's going to help you live a healthier, happier life, right? So go work on them. Read your goal sheet, that brain dump that I encourage you to do. Read that goal sheet every week. There's some people that encourage you to do it every day. Most days, maybe, but do make sure that you read that goal sheet regularly. When you read that goal, one, it's going to inspire you. It's going to reevaluate. It's also going to trigger in our brain the reticular activating system, that thing that throughout the day is going to have us looking for what's important. When we read the goal sheet, we tell our brains that these things are important to us. So our brains will naturally seek out ways to accomplish those goals, ways to work towards those goals. Reading them often puts them top of mind so that we can do actions towards them often, right? So read your goal sheet each week. I personally have my goal sheet, my 2022 goal sheet on my freezer, right? And I'll be honest, I don't read it every day. Some days I get into the hustle and the bustle and the kerfluffle of the workday, but I do read it often. And I remember some of the things that I plan to do, and I have to make some changes, and I put some more priority on that because I might have forgot about it for a moment. But it reminds me, it re-inspires me, it gets me moving in that goal. Remember the goal as you work on them. All too often I see in my experience that people will set this goal of being healthier, and then the action is to have exercise. And after the 14th, 15th workout, it just starts to be humdrum, and you forget about the purpose behind it. You forget the excitement behind the exercise. And we remember from that milkshake experiment that we talked about at the beginning, the excitement, the intention, the mental focus changes our biochemistry, which actually changes our outcomes. It changes our results. So remember the goal as you work on them, whatever the task is, whatever the achievement is, remember why you're doing that, why you're working on it, so that your body can literally change its structures to accomplish that goal, to accomplish that intent, right? And then something I always encourage people to do, reflect every month. Reflect on the progress you've made towards that goal. How well did you act towards that goal? What progress did you make towards that goal, right? And then it also gives you a chance to make tweaks, to make adjustments. What if you reflect and see that you came up a little short on your workout goals? What do you have to do the next month to get better at that, right? If you came up a little short on progress, what changes in the next month do you have to do to work towards that? But as you reflect, never, ever compare the distance from the goal. If you compare distances, compare distance from where you started, never to where the goal is. And we'll talk about that a little bit more coming up soon, but never compare distance from the goal. What that ends up doing is create a lot of disempowerment. It creates a disparity. It creates this disappointment that actually pushes us away from the goal. We start to say that the goal is not possible, that we're not getting there, that the goal is something that's different from us, and then it's bad. Don't do that. One of my favorite quotes, if you can't tell from the seminar, I do quote a lot. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. I love this definition of success. A lot of people think that success is an achievement, right? The achievement goals. People think that success is some status in life, some vision, something that you be. People think that success is, a social status. It's an attainment. It's a wealth. It's whatever this item that people think success is. But the reality is, success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. It is the progress towards a goal that is worthy of you, right? And whatever goal you circled, whatever goal is most exciting, whatever goal you like the most, that is your worthy ideal. That is what you're living up to. Success is the progress towards that goal, right? And I love that. And we can only see that through monthly reflections. And we already alluded to reflections also show you what tweaks you can make. Now, the dark slide. Natasha, I love that feedback. Some people say that success is peace of mind. I think the best peace of mind comes knowing that you're living your best life, knowing that you're doing the right things for yourself, knowing that you're making progress towards some ideal. I think peace of mind is success, and I think success is progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Now, we are on the dark slide. That's because we got to talk about the dark side of goal setting. Goals become what will be called a desired reality, right? Whatever that goal you're hoping to accomplish, whether it's a vision, whether it's an accomplishment, or whether it's a habit, it's something that's different than you right now. It's some change you want to make. It's some change you want to accomplish. It becomes your desired reality. And that instantaneously contrasts with your current reality, right? You wouldn't have to set a goal if you already had that goal. So it contrasts with your current reality. And what this does is accidentally create this disempowering equation, which is in your workbook if you're looking for this. The disempowering equation is that the current reality does not equal your desired reality, right? This disempowers us. This creates a disparity. This creates a gap. This creates overwhelm. This creates demotivation. But what I would challenge you is that the reason why your desired reality is desired is because it's a magnification of your best parts, right? I would argue that the best formula to have is that your desired reality is the best parts of your current reality magnified times 10. The empowering formula to think about, the empowering equation is that desired realities equal current realities times 10. It's not about changing who you are. It's not about becoming something inherently different or get out of here. Sorry, cat jumped in the lap again. It's not about creating something that's so wildly different from you. It's about creating the best parts of you and expanded, enlarged, grow the best parts of you, right? Goals are about growth, not change. I think this is a crucial point to have for people. Goals are about growth, not change. So what's next? What I would love for you to do is in the workbook, take some time, go through, do the true goals exercise. When you're done with the true goals, take 20 minutes. Now that you know what you're really looking for, what's important, take 20 minutes and brain dump. Answer those questions. What do I want to have, do, or be? Circle the one that excites you the most. Then answer Zig's questions. Then answer Lou's question. And then finally, get to work on your goal, right? And if you can do this, it will set you up for an amazing 2022. And if you need help crafting a more specific plan to accomplish your goal, if you need help crafting and really identifying what that goal is, well, you might be interested in coaching. Coaching is something that helps people get from where they are to where they want to be, from who they are to who they want to be, right? Coaching can be an incredibly powerful thing. If you need any help with this, if you need to go any deeper on this, feel free to reach out. I'd love to talk to you, see a little bit more, see if it's a relationship that could work out. But look, I think this is great. I think there's a lot of information that we put here on today's seminar, on the webinar, talking about goal setting. And I think ultimately this should give us enough skills and enough tools to accomplish your goals, to identify your goals, to stay motivated to your goals, and to ultimately accomplish your goals. Now, I want 2022 to be your best year. I want 2022 to be your healthiest year. And ultimately, I want 2022 to be your happiest year. So put this all in action. If you have any questions, put it down in the comments. If you want to share your goals, put them down in the comments. Or as always, you can always feel free to share privately with me in private message. Go ahead and message me anytime. I'm here for you. I'm here to support you. I'm here to bless you and grow you and help you live your best, happiest life. Until I see you again next month, if you enjoyed this webinar, we'll do another webinar next month. I think we'll finally follow up based on the past poll questions. We're going to do how to design a workout plan for yourself. So we'll do that. If you're interested in that, let me know down in the comments. If you want to suggest another topic, another seminar topic, another webinar, something that you're interested in, let me know down in the comments. And until then, until I see you again, coffee chat might skip coffee chat on Friday, given the holidays. But until I see you again, you know what to do, Rebel. Keep the oath.